From the perspective of different internships with different disciplines, we will compare and contrast our intern experiences, personal strengths, and how they influenced our internship, and examine what our individual moral obligations are within the workforce. Meet the team. Ali comes from an economics background and completed her internship with ANSO Discovery Centre in the communications department. Alex comes from a finance background and completed his internship with Whedon Consulting doing financial planning. Christina comes from a law background and travelled to India for her internship, working in setting up a social enterprise for 40k Globe. Jake comes from an HR background and did his internship with Publicis Media, working in the people and culture team. Despite all completing our internships in different fields, we have found that there were similarities in our experiences. One common experience was that we were all challenged by working in a new environment. Jake was faced with the challenge of rewriting the company's human resources policy, and with very little guidance. He was resourceful in facing this challenge as he researched and compared the policies of other companies in order to design one for his company. Despite the challenge of a new environment, all members of the team agreed that if you can be adaptable to your environment, you're able to learn and grow. One of the biggest differences between our internships was the work environment and organisational culture. Ali, Alex and Jake all completed their internships in a classic corporate environment, working autonomously. Christina's internship was different as she was working in a rural village in India, completing all tasks in teams, interacting with children and families within the villages. So why do we have similar or different experiences? Some contributing factors are organisation culture and support. The culture in each of our firms was quite different. Ali's internship was much more formal. However, Alex experienced a much more laid-back atmosphere, attending social gatherings with his colleagues after work. The organisation culture was different in Christina's internship, as her organisation's goals related to positive social impacts over the usual commercial goals and other interns work towards. This is reflective of an integrative leadership regime, as Christina's role involved collaborating with members of the community to work towards improving education standards. A factor as to why we were all challenged in our roles is due to our high levels of engagement. The HR practices implemented by all our internship organisations gave us the resources necessary to deal with the demands of the role and remain engaged throughout the experience. For example, Ali received in-depth communication training for her role, which provided the resources necessary to deal with all the tasks she was faced with and allowed her to stay engaged to complete her tasks efficiently and to a high standard. A common strength we all utilised during our internships was perseverance. Even when faced with obstacles, we were all resilient and able to stay positive and on task. A strength that none of us feel we exercised during the internship was creativity. As exercising creativity and innovation is difficult when working in restrictive industries, trying to appease multiple stakeholders. Based on the person-job fit and person-organisation fit theory, the level of employees' adoption to the organisation or role influences their work experience. Most of the team were working in roles which suited their personalities and career goals, therefore allowing them to persevere through difficult moments of the internship. It is important that an organisation offers the right environment and resources to their employees, and an individual's personal resources must also meet the needs of the organisation. What could be done to ensure better use of the personal strengths? The application of personal strengths at the workplace are important for positive experiences at work. The more signature strengths you can apply in the workplace, the higher the positive experiences of work are observed in the study. Christina was working in a restrictive environment that didn't allow her to exercise her strengths of judgment and problem solving. Had she worked in a role more suited to those strengths, she would have had more positive experiences. Now we look at the moral obligations of our generation to society. Moral obligations refer to an individual sense of responsibility to act morally when faced with an ethical situation. These moral obligations can affect people's behavioural intentions. The moral obligations of our generation relate to preserving the environment for future generations and promoting equality among all people regardless of their circumstances. The way in which we can do that is by adopting the utilitarian attitude and by standing up for what's right. In our futures, if we utilise integrative leadership when making decisions, no matter how small or large, and go the extra mile to consult with all stakeholders and not just the ones with the largest influence or shareholding, we can start the movement by encouraging fellow colleagues to engage with these key issues and spread the positive influence throughout our organisation and hopefully through the entire market. Thank you.
Created using Powtoon.